thanks for all the great content. Bork, bork, bork. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Average Ontario Anglers Fishing Podcast. I'm your host this week, and as always, we have Jesse with us, and we also have our special guest again. We're always like having guests in the show to enlighten us, give us tips about how to actually do fishing better. So we got another good one for you. This week, our guest is Brad DeCoste, who is another fishing guide, and we're looking forward to hearing from him a little bit later on in the show. But we're going to get lots of juice, as they say, from him. So, but first off, we're going to have the interesting fishing fact, which is going to be handled by Jesse this week. Let's see if he is interesting. He told me it was, so let's see if he's lying to me again or not.
Well, as a typical fisherman, I've been known to stretch the truth a little bit. I thought this would be an interesting one because it's something, again, we like to do interesting fishing facts on lots of things, but one thing we like to do is learn things that we just take for granted and never thought of before. So I thought today we could go in a little bit about tungsten. You ever thought about that, Andrew? You ever had any deep thoughts about tungsten?
Deep thoughts because they're sinkers?
Oh.
Yeah. So we all use tungsten in fishing for, it's commonly used in weights and in jigs and all kinds of things. And me personally, I've never really thought about how it's made. Like it's a super hard metal, but like, how is it made? So I did some research and I actually went on to the Encyclopedia Britannica, updated last year. So don't worry, it's not super old. But anyway, tungsten. In each one of these small segments I'm going to talk about, there's going to be some questions that I'm going to ask you guys to see how smart you guys are before we go over the information. And the questions they're a little on the easy side, so you should be good. I think this was like made for children, so you guys should be fine. So here's the question for the first topic. Which one's heavier? A sugar cube sized chunk of tungsten or the same size chunk of lead?
Tungsten.
Yeah, that was way too easy, guys. It says that tungsten is the overachiever of metals. And why is that? Well, it's super dense, it's hard, and it's heat proof. And because of those reasons we talked about, it becomes the perfect material for making a lot of things in the fishing industry. We think too of like the importance of tungsten, right? Like when we were growing up, Andrew, tungsten wasn't really like a thing, was it? Like you didn't see like tungsten jigs. It was just like lead.
Yeah.
That was the deal, right?
Yeah. You only ever saw lead.
Yeah. Good, beautiful, non-toxic lead. No, just kidding. It's terrible. What is tungsten actually? So actually, here's another question, Andrew or Brad. Where does tungsten rank for the highest melting point among all metals? What rank?
It's got to be, I would say, in the top 3.
I would say, top 5, maybe.
Yep. It's actually number 1.
Oh,
apparently.
Yeah.
That's what the Encyclopedia Britannica says. So tungsten holds the record for the highest melting point of all metals. Nothing even comes close. It's basically made of 2 main minerals. I'll probably butcher the names of these, but one's called wolframite and the other one's called scheelite, something like that. I'm not a geologist, so I don't know. But these minerals, we have to think, where are they formed? Well, they're formed in mountain belts formed by heat and pressure, which causes them to be super hard. So you may wonder, where is tungsten mined? The main place is China. Everything's made in China. But actually, the number one by far, like, I don't know the exact percentage, but it says by far most of it is mined in China. And then there's also a lot of tungsten in Russia, Vietnam, Bolivia, and Kazakhstan as well. But there is a lot of it that is actually mined here in Canada. So we actually have a lot of huge deposits in the Yukon, the Northwest Territories, and parts of British Columbia and New Brunswick. So there's actually a whole bunch of mines. There's one called the Kantong Mine in the Northwest Territories or in the Yukon, and it's one of the highest grade tungsten mines in the world. So it has like the best quality tungsten. It has extremely rare, it's like a rare kind of tungsten that you can find in these areas. And it's considered a major global tungsten asset in the whole world, which is awesome. And then there's a whole bunch of other ones I'm not going to get into, but there's all these really cool. We should go to like a mine, Andrew. We'll do an AOA live at like a tungsten mine.
I was thinking, like, if it has such a high melting point, it must be really hard to refine. So having it as pure as possible at the source would be a huge benefit.
Exactly. So you may wonder, so they're mining these weird like tungsten minerals in from the ground. But Andrew makes a good point. what's the process of actually it becoming, coming out of the ground to being on your flipping jig? Who knows, right? So this is a very simple version, because again, I think this article was for children, but that's good because like it was a long day at work. I don't want to think too hard.
That's perfectly. I have the mental capacity of one.
So true. So first they mine the minerals, right? It can be open pit or underground. And then what they do is they crush and separate. So they grind the rocks and the minerals up, and then they use this thing called gravity flotation or magnetic separation to sort out the tungsten-rich pieces of the ground. And as we know, tungsten is super heavy. So it basically, like, when they're using these separation, it just like, it falls right through and the dirt just flies away. You don't have to worry about it. So now they actually have to purify it. So they superheat it, and then they dissolve it in these like weird chemical solutions. And then they filter it until they get a pure compound called APT. Now, they turn this APT into metal. So they go, APT goes into tungsten oxide, which turns into tungsten powder. And then that tungsten powder is heated up to thousands of degrees. And then they form it into tungsten bars or whatever jig heads, whatever. So that is the main thing. When you see, like, and you're in the tackle shop, and this isn't like to diss, like, jig makers and stuff, but they're like, oh, this is my tungsten jig. You didn't make it. There's no way you could have made it because you don't have a tungsten melting forge in your basement. So that's why most tungsten all tungsten jigs that are store-bought, they all are made somewhere else, because no small bait maker or even large bait makers have the ability to make tungsten jigs, because you don't have a super forge in your factory. I guarantee it. So it's cool. It's just like, it's a super cool material that it's like super dense, but also the process of getting it is pretty insane. But what are the benefits? And why will anglers pay so much for tungsten? Because it is quite more expensive than lead. Well, as we mentioned, it's denser than lead, which means that it's smaller size for the same amount of weight. Does that matter? Like, a lot of people will say, like, oh, if you're using a finesse bait, having the whole package being smaller is a big deal. If you're flipping and pitching and you have a smaller weight, it'll slide through the weeds easier. Another thing that people say, and I felt this myself, is better sensitivity. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like drop shotting or you're flipping stuff and you're banging that weight on the bottom and you're hitting rocks and stuff, you can feel it go right into the rod, as opposed to lead is it's a soft metal.
Soft, yeah.
And it's not the same sensitivity as well. Another thing too is if you fish a lot of current or deep water, smallmouth, walleye, ice fishing, tungsten, it sinks because it's smaller and more dense. It does sink fast. So, you're thinking like you're ice fishing on Lake Simcoe for perch, and you go, a big school of jumbos comes over and you're fishing a little jig, and you pull up a jumbo and you just want to get your bait down quick to get another one quick before the school, scoots off. And you don't want to use a huge lead jig or it's just slowly sinking down. It's like, no,
mackerel
jig. Get down. So I did notice that, because I have one of those like free fall, like the reels that just uses like, it's like on a bearing, and even a little tungsten jig, it has some heft to it for such a small jig,
Didn't you get some backlashes?
Yeah. Make sure you're paying attention. Last thing you want is a backlash when your fingers can't bend to pick it out. And one of the other things is the benefits of tungsten is it has less of an environmental impact for wildlife. Now, the whole mining process of it, I don't know, because like everyone's like, oh, electric cars are better for the environment, but it's like the process of making them is terrible. So I don't know if that's the same with tungsten. I'm not going to get into that. Probably get some weirdos with electric cars getting out at me right now, but let's not get into that. Here's some questions, Andrew, because Andrew's a genius. Here's the question. How much more dense is tungsten than lead?
I would say twice as much.
You're right. It's double. It's double the density. Andrew's a smart cookie today.
You know how I got that? Was thinking, if I look at a 1/4 ounce lead jig head or a 1/4 ounce tungsten, it's about half the size. I'm like, yeah, I'll just go by that.
Anyway,
fishing makes you smarter, people. That's what that was.
100% it does. To wrap this up, we have to think, when next time you tie on a tungsten jig or you slide a punching weight onto your line, just think that tungsten likely traveled all the way from the mountains of China or Russia, or way up into, the frozen wastelands of Canada up in Northwest Territories. No offense if you're from there. It gets crushed, roasted, dissolved, filtered, superheated, and then pressed into your jig, all just to end up getting snagged under a rock at the bottom of Lake Simcoe. So that's a cool thing. I've never thought about tungsten before. Again, me and Andrew, we use it all the time. And I've never thought about it. The only thing I think about when I'm using tungsten is how expensive it is, but it's worth it. Believe me.
It is expensive.
The first time I ever heard of tungsten was actually my buddy got married and he had a tungsten wedding band. And I thought, like, that's cool looking ring. And what I heard was, I don't know if this came up in your research, Jesse, but like tungsten, if you're injure your finger or something, you can't remove it. Like it can't be cut. It can't be like it's there.
They're like, if you're using heavy machinery, we will cut your hand off. I'm like, oh, good. Good thing I don't use heavy machinery.
What I've heard though is there's a certain like ceramic that will cause your ring to shatter. And that sometimes the tungsten, if it vibrates at a certain frequency, will just like shatter into pieces. And kind of like how, now don't use this knowledge for bad things, but if you take spark plugs, right, the actual porcelain of that'll just shatter glass as soon as it touches it. Just instant shatter. So if we call them ninja rocks. I grew up in Beaverton.
So what you're saying is I could be fishing, set the hook, and a tungsten weight will fly through the air. I'll try to block it with my hand. It'll hit my wedding ring and it'll shatter and kill everyone on the boat.
If your wedding ring is a certain type of ceramic, maybe.
Okay.
You get like ceramic coated glasses. It's like, yeah. I don't know if that's true or not. It could be a myth.
I wanted to add, this is the end of the interesting fishing fact, but I just thought, speaking of dumb things that happen on the water, I thought we could just touch on something that is like news right now. Did you guys hear about the kayak cheater?
Yeah. Well, bass boat cheater.
Yeah. So again, I'm sure if like you're into, the fishing politics and like fishing in general, you've probably heard about this. This week, or like last week by now.
Okay, this is good.
So there's this guy.
It's bad, but it's good.
He's fishing the New York Kayak Bass Fishing Club in June 2025. And basically what happened is instead of fishing from his kayak, so this is a kayak fishing tournament, but instead of fishing from his kayak, he was catching fish from a bass boat and taking pictures on a piece of a kayak that he cut out.
Come on.
So it looked like he was sitting in a kayak. So he would catch the fish on a bass boat, have his chunk of kayak on the boat, and then pretend to sit beside it so that you could tell it was a kayak, and then take his picture of the bass on the bump board. And the reason he could do this is because it was a month-long online entry kayak bass tournament. So it wasn't like a specific day, and he was going out just logging all these fish. And you have to think, if you're in a bass boat, obviously you're at an advantage because you can get to spots better. You can fish rougher water, like all the advantages, right? So he actually gets busted by, I watched a YouTube video. This guy's like, yeah, he's fishing with this other guy, one of his like, not friends, but just some guy that was fishing with him. And then they got footage of like his boat on the side of the road with like a chunk of a kayak on it.
Yeah.
And this guy had also been busted for cheating before. He had to return the money, but it wasn't that much money for that one. He was given a lifetime ban from that tournament series. And a lot of the other tournaments were like, yeah, you can't, fish in this as well. I think that tournament, he only won $200 or something.
All that for $200.
Isn't that insane? And he had been caught cheating before. And that's so blatant. Like for me, if I was going to cheat, which I wouldn't, I would be too terrified to do that. You know what I mean? I'd be like, I'm fishing a kayak tournament and here I'm on a boat with a chunk of neon green kayak with other people fishing around it was like on the St. Lawrence River. Like this isn't like some Hicktown lake in the middle of nowhere. Oh
wow, that's pretty crazy. Man. That's not worth it. Not worth it. Well, nothing's worth it, but $200, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. There's like predator poacher YouTube channels.
Yeah, I've seen a few.
Where they like set up stings. Me and Andrew have to do that with bass fishing cheaters. You know what I mean? You have to like set the guys up. That would be great.
Yeah.
Although
what are those lead weights in your pocket there? You realize that, how heavy do you think this fish is? It's actually only 2 pounds.
Oh, man.
Oh, anyway, that's what I'd say about that. Because if you want to hear more of the whole story of that, I'll put the link below for the Wired to Fish news article on that. I just found it ridiculous. Some of these guys, dude, fishing is supposed to be fun. You shouldn't get to the point where you're trying to cheat for $200.
Yeah, no.
What a joker.
No.
And if you're listening to this, whatever your name is, I think the guy was named. All right, we gotta give this guy a shout out. His last name is Houseman.
Houseman.
Yeah, sounds like a weirdo.
If your last sounds like a guy who cuts up a perfectly good kayak for $200. He could have sold that on Kijiji or Facebook Marketplace and gotten more than he won from that tournament.
Yep. It's true.
Unreal.
And that was good. I like the tungsten. That was a great, interesting fishing fact. And that is good to bring up that news article. It's timely. Again, if you're listening to this in the future, it may not be timely, but it's still hilarious. So thanks for bringing that up. We're going to move now to our main topic. Now, we haven't told you what the main topic is today. That's because the
Andrew
main
doesn't
topic
know.
is fishing.
Fishing, yeah.
This is a more generalized. We're not trying to focus on either one specific thing, but this is a good time to kind of pick the brain of a guide. And Jesse and I have talked before about having guides in the show or fishing with guides and doing guided trips. And if you have the opportunity, by all means, like, we highly recommend it. You learn so much. And this is kind of an example of what Jesse and I do when we fish with a guide, we fish with someone else, is we're constantly there picking their brain. And these are kind of the questions that we'll ask them when we're on the water. So unfortunately, we're not in the water today, unlike the last episode, but we are going to be asking some of those similar questions. So first off, I want to introduce again Brad DeCoste. Make sure I get that one right.
Yeah, you got it.
And you run Rumblefish Adventures?
I do, yeah. This is my third season now since I've been doing it. It's more of a weekend thing than anything because I have a full-time job as a plumber. So the goal is to eventually hopefully get busy enough doing that where I could maybe do guiding from May till, let's say, early November and then just go back to plumbing for the winter. That'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Work indoors in the winter.
Yeah, or outdoors. I don't care. I'll suffer through the winter at work if that means I could fish all summer long, right? I have no problem doing that at all.
There's only 2 rules in life.
What's that?
Bass fight hard and poop flows downhill.
Yep. Yep.
Sometimes you get paid on a Friday. That's
I never do.
No, me neither. Me neither.
So what originally pulled you into guiding? Well, here in Ontario, I suppose it's probably just that's where you lived, but what pulled you into guiding specifically?
I've been fishing since I was a little kid. My parents used to take my sister and I to Rice Lake every May 2-4. It was kind of a family tradition. We did that from when I was a little kid till I was in my late teens. And then when I was old enough, friends of mine and myself would go rent boats. We'd go to call different cottage resorts here on this lake and that lake. Hey, you guys rent boats? And we'd rent it for the day, go out fishing. And then I really, really started getting heavily into it then to the point where I said, you know what, I'm just going to buy a boat. And then I bought a boat, started taking coworkers fishing, especially coworkers who were never really into fishing that much. They always ask me at work, how's fishing this weekend? I'm like, oh, it was great, man. Caught this, that, Like, oh, you should take me sometime. I'm like, yeah, anytime you want. So, I would bring them out. And then
$70. We'll go out.
Yeah, no, not even. You know what I mean? Just for fun and just to introduce them to it. And they caught a ton of fish and they had a great time. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? I could really see myself doing this more regularly and maybe even for a living one day, especially since, construction's hard on the body and I'm breaking down every year. So I need something to fall back on when I hopefully hit that early retirement at 55, not 65.
That's funny because I'm the opposite. When my coworkers bring up taking them fishing, I quickly change the subject. I'm like, oh, it was terrible, man. I don't know why I do it. Didn't you catch fish? It's besides the point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. I like it. It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And what do you focus on? Is there a specific species or multiple species that you focus on in your guiding?
Mostly bass. I'm a smallie guy through and through. I love fishing smallmouth. I do some pike trips early in the season, while we're waiting for bass to open up. Last year, I tried my hand at getting some jumbo perch on Simcoe. That was pretty good. So I think I'm going to maybe do that again this April. Whoever's interested wants to go for some jumbos. I know a few spots. All right. Sounds good.
We're going.
We're on board. All right.
But yeah, if I had to pick one species day in, day out, I'm going for smallies. I love fishing smallies.
That's fantastic. I grew up fishing smallmouth, fishing, Algonquin Park when you go camping and stuff like that. That was always the main fish that I grew up going for.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have a close spot in my heart too.
Right on.
And what a fight on some good smallmouth.
The acrobatics and they're jumping out of the water, and that's really exciting for people who haven't really experienced fishing that much either, right? When they get a nice 3.5-4 pounder jumping out of the water, they're like, oh my god!
Or you get those 5 or 6 pounders just dogging it to the bottom and you can't lift it.
I still do that too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right on.
that's awesome. So you fished a fair area, like you mentioned, going to Corfu Lakes when you were younger. And right now you fish a lot like Georgian Bay, Simcoe area kind of thing.
You know what? It's a shame. Simcoe is pretty much in my backyard. I live in Newmarket.
Okay, yep.
And I don't store my boat at the house. I don't have room for it. So where I store it is literally, I think, a 4-minute drive to Cooks Bay Marina. And as close as it is to me, I barely fish it. Like I'll fish it for perch in April. And then once May hits, I'm up in the Port Severn area. I do a lot of guiding on Gloucester Pool and Little Lake. And then I go on the other side of the locks there into Georgian Bay in the Wabasheen, Midland, Victoria Harbor area, stuff like that. That's where I spend most of my time anyway.
Love me some Wabasheen.
Yeah.
That's actually where I bought my outboard. It was in Wabasheen at Marsh's Marina.
Oh, nice. Right on.
Yeah. I looked at that address. It was like Wabasheen. I'm like, what the heck is that?
Yeah. Yeah, there's Penetanguishene, Wabasheen, yeah.
So when you're guiding, what is your favorite season to guide? So we know what species, we kind of know the areas that you like to frequent at least, but what's the favorite season when you're going for, again, smallmouth in that area?
I would have to say fall, hands down. I love the fall. Just the fish group up and they're feeding aggressively, putting on the pounds for the winter. Or I shouldn't say pounds, but putting on the feed bag and getting some...
Putting on the ounces.
Yeah, the ounces. There you go. Yeah, not pounds. But yeah, fall, hands down. I love it. You can have days where you catch 30, 40 fish in a span of 4 hours. It's just ridiculous sometimes. I got to laugh sometimes. It's just, oh my God, another one? The next cast, oh my God, another one? And like 3.5 pound fish are now 4.5 pounds. 4-pound fish are now 5 pounds. Like they're heavier, they fight harder. It's just a lot of fun. That's my favorite time of
They're
year.
footballs in the fall.
Yeah, man.
Their bellies get huge.
Yeah. Lots of fun.
Do you have a memorable moment that sticks with you from your guiding in the past 3 years? Is there anything that kind of stuck with you of importance?
Well, this summer, I took a family out from North Carolina, actually. It was a mom and her 2 daughters. And the one daughter, I think she was 6 or 7 years old. She was a young kid. And we were catching a bunch of smallies. And we went to go do a release. I made her get down on the deck of the boat with me real close to the water. And then I was holding the fish like by the belly, waiting for it to swim away. And when it swam away, it splashed the tail. I got a face full of water. This kid was belly laughing, like hard belly laughing. Like it was the funniest thing she's ever seen. I thought it was really cute. That was a memorable moment for me for guiding up until this point. Like I said, I haven't been guiding that long, but out of 3 years, that one stands out.
Andrew still does that when a fish splashes him.
Yeah,
I still laugh at him. Some things never change.
Giggle like a schoolgirl.
Yeah, 100%.
Nice.
Yeah, the school one schoolgirl with a baritone voice.
Oh yeah,
and a beard.
and a beard. Yeah.
Ugliest kid I've ever seen.
Yeah, I resemble that remark. So when you're out in the water, let's say you just started your day, and whether you're guiding or just fun fishing, we're gonna kind of look at your experience, not to inspect your experience, but to gain information from it ourselves. So when you hit the water in the morning, what's your decision-making process for where to start? Like actually, to start catching fish, what's the process to get to that point? You're getting that first one in the boat.
I always like to start shallow. Throw like a moving bait. If the water's calm and the weather's been steady for a few days, like nobody wants to fish the cold front stuff, but like, if you had a good week, like I said, I only fish on the weekends, right? So I got my eyes glued to the Weather Channel the whole week leading up to the weekend. If I know it's a nice calm morning, I'm throwing top water up shallow. I'll have another rod with a wacky worm Senko tied on just in case they miss the top water, and I'll start there. If I don't get bit within the first half an hour, maybe I'll check the first, like the inside weed line, throw like a drop shot along there, see what happens, and then just keep moving out deeper till I find them, really. Mm-hmm. But I always find myself starting shallow with moving baits just to gauge the fish activity for the day. If they're smashing it right away, then it's going to be a good day. If not, then you got to work a little harder, check a couple little areas around where you're fishing, and hopefully run into them.
Do you ever make a cast right at the boat launch?
No, I don't. I don't, but I know you do. I've heard.
I can't help it.
Yeah, I know.
I'll sometimes make a cast before the boat's in the water. I'm like, time to make a cast.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe I should.
I'm still like taking the canoe off the top of the car and he's casting. I'm like, come on, man.
It's
help
like,
me out.
fish on, fish
Idiot.
on.
Yeah.
Luckily, Andrew rarely catches something on those first casts. Thank goodness. Because if he was, I'd probably just leave him there and just come back for him later.
Yeah. What's the point of launching the boat then, right?
Now, one thing that's a challenge for a lot of people, myself included, I know Jesse struggles with this too, is when you're going to a new body of water. Jesse gives me a weird look. What I struggle with? Catching fish.
Yeah, it's true.
But when you go to a brand new body of water, Jess and I, we love to explore. We like to try new lakes. Or you hear about, like we were talking, that river system we were fishing just a couple weeks ago, we heard good things about it. Hey, you should try fishing this area. Like, okay, great. But we don't have exact spots. And so it's always tough to find where we want to actually start fishing on a body of water.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you break that down when you are planning to go to a new lake, and then when you arrive there that day or river, wherever you're fishing, what's your process to narrow down your search area so you're not wasting time?
I always start off with Google Earth images of whatever lake I plan on going to, and then follow that up with Navionics, obviously. And then I look for areas based on the contour lines of that lake, for areas that I'm most confident where I do the best, like the stuff that I like to fish. So I like to fish a lot of humps, let's say rock piles, whatever. So you know how those look on a Navionics. I'll mark a few of those. And then when I get to the lake, I'll check it out, drive over it with the 2D sonar, have a look at what it looks like. If I see any marks, maybe drop a drop shot down there, see what those marks are, see if I can catch a couple. And then if it's producing, then I'll save it as a waypoint and kind of just tag along like that. And if that's not working out, then, like I said, I always like to start shallow, but that'll be like a backup plan. I know earlier I said I'll start shallow, but if I'm going to a lake that I've never been, then I'll start with the humps. And if that's not working out, then I'll move shallow and see how that is. But I like the drop shot around the humps and stuff.
And those are easy spots to find, like with Navionics. Like you could go to a lake that, as long as it's mapped on Navionics, but you could go to any lake you've never fished before.
Yeah.
And within a few seconds be like, hump, 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 hump.
Yeah.
And find those humps on the
circles.
map.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a genius map reader to figure out where they are. So that's good for like people like us that are dumb. Right, Andrew?
So when you're out in the lake, let's say the spots that you've pinned so far on your Navionics in the past, let's say the humps aren't producing, you're going to the shallow areas. Is there anything else that you're looking for without, ripping across a whole lake? If you say, are you going to focus on areas that maybe have like current? Is that play a big deal in your decision making, or is it more like the depth changes and stuff like that in a lake that would draw your attention more once you're on a body of water and kind of figuring out what's working for that day?
Yeah, so I don't really, maybe I should, but I don't really pay too much attention to the whole current thing. But I'm a more of like depth transition zone type guy. I look for the first break, the second break, inside weed edge, outside weed edge. And then if I'm going along weed edges, you look for holes or points or like little, something that's different. Or if you're in really shallow water where you can see, like you have good visibility, any shadow that I see, whether it's like a log or a rock, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to cast there. Just any cover that you could see, you're going to throw at it, right? Mm-hmm. So I would just go with the trolling motor on high and just cruise down, man. Just cover as much water as possible and see how long it takes to figure out what that pattern is for the day and try to make the right choices based on that. And hopefully the day gets better from there.
That's good. That's pretty much my plan when I go out, is find out what's working today.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love sight fishing that stuff too. And you never see, like, how often do you actually see the bass? You just see like a different colored rock sometimes, like you said, or that log there. Do you actually see the bass before, it moves out to grab your bait? Like ever?
Never. Like maybe one time I saw it happen. I saw the bass hiding in a brush pile and I saw him come out and not hit the wacky worm. And then it was actually a client that I had out on the boat. He was throwing a wacky worm at this thing, maybe 15 casts, and would come out and then go back in, come out and go back in. So then we made one little switch. It was the Great Lakes Finesse hover minnow. on a little ball head. I just told him hang it right there, and he hung it there, and it came out and smoked it. That's the only bass I ever saw come out of cover and eat something. And I hear people saying, "Oh, there's a bass there." You know, you watch YouTube videos. Oh, they're sight fishing. I can't see anything, man. I can't see them unless maybe you're on Simcoe and it's like super clear, and then you know. But
yeah, that's definitely a different thing for sure.
Yeah,
you were saying before, you can only get out on the weekends because you work full time, like us, like a lot of our listeners.
Yeah.
They're not full time anglers. That's it. Count yourself lucky if you're able to do that by any means. If you can get out more than just the weekends, that's amazing.
Oh, for sure.
That much.
Yeah.
So, like us, you have to put up with a lot of weather, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's not, I shouldn't say never. It's rarely optimal.
No,
By the time
I know.
it comes around for the day, we can go fishing. So,
yeah.
Let's say it's windy. Like, how do you make use of the wind, or do you just try and avoid as much as possible when you're on the lake? Let's say there's like islands around or something like that. What are you doing on those windier days, but you still want to get out fishing?
I'll fish whatever side of the lake the wind has been blowing the water to first. I'll go to the wind. I guess
side.
The windiest side, right? Throw spinner baits, chatter baits, anything that's moving, jerk baits. That's kind of a bit of an advantage if fish the wind blown stuff. There's usually going to be fish there. Theoretically, they should be there. And then as far as using it to my advantage any other way, I think I'd probably, drift across a flat and use the wind to drift across a productive flat that of, or a productive spot, just drive the boat up however many yards and then let it drift across, dragging a drop shot or a Ned rig, hopefully pick up some fish that way. For anything else, I'm trying to hide from the wind. And that's what I like about where I fish in Gloucester Pool. There's a lot of islands, a lot of like nooks and crannies and bays that you can get out of the wind if it's really bad. When you wake up in the morning and you look at the weather network and it's 45 kilometer wind gusts with 26 kilometer hour sustained winds, most people are like, well, I guess I'm not going fishing today, but I'll go to G Pool confidently knowing that, if it gets too much, you can always find water to fish that you're out of the wind.
Mm-hmm. That's funny because I was going to say, Andrew, we should talk a little bit about our last trip. We went out, we both took a day off work, and we were like, it was the first day that we got to use Andrew's new boat. Tell them about the weather. Like,
oh yeah, I saw on your Instagram. Yeah.
There was like 3 foot like white capped waves. We were trying to like cast along this weed line, and
it was
just
55
the boat drifting.
per hour winds.
Jeez.
Yeah. Gusts.
Like
yeah,
gusts, but like sustained around 30. Like it was a windy day.
It was raining.
It was wet the whole time, raining.
And you had your heart set on going out that day with the new boat. Nothing was going to stop you.
I had to.
Yeah. I get
Getting it back on the trailer. I even had the bump guards in the trailer, but the ramp was so steep that the boat was kind of trying to sit on the one. So I had to I rolled up my pants and I
man,
it was deeper than the rubber boots would let me go. So I got pretty cold getting the boat back on the trailer and stuff, but
at least you're on your way home.
We got out. Yeah. I'm very pleased with that boat though. I did not feel at all unsafe on being on that water.
Nice.
It just made it challenging for boat control to actually, properly fish or effectively fish. But as for the safety, I had zero concern. That was great.
Yeah.
What did you think, Jesse?
We would have stayed out. The area we were fishing, the wind was going, I think it was going north. And the lake we're fishing was like a straight north-south lake with no islands.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's like there was nowhere to hide.
Yeah. So you're like in a wind tunnel.
Yeah. We were fishing this one weed line for muskie, and we drove to the end and we were drifting 5 kilometers an hour. So we were casting, and it's cold. So we're trying to slow down for muskie in the fall. And it's just we were drifting faster than trolling speed. So after a while, it got to the point where there was white caps, and I was like to Andrew, we should probably go in. And we
packed up and went to a different lake.
Yeah, and it was still bad.
Yeah.
So then we got home.
Yeah.
It was more sheltered there, so we were able to fish a couple spots at least.
But
which we knew
like you said, it's great to be able to fish on those windy days. If you have a boat that's capable of doing so on a lake or a river system that has islands on it, because then you can always shelter yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd be surprised how calm it is behind some of the islands. It's 50K gusts and you're behind an island. It's pretty calm.
It's a completely different world.
Yeah. And then you go around the corner and you're like, what is this monsoon?
Yeah.
When
you thought we were going to add to that story, and we caught a giant fish. We didn't catch nothing. We almost died.
Didn't even see anything at all.
That's all right. It happens.
Not a sniff.
Maybe. I just didn't feel the bite.
Yeah, we just stopped at Tackle Bros and I spent more money.
Oh,
That's true.
that place is dangerous.
Yes, it is. So when it comes to baits and stuff now, what is one, or not so much baits, but presentation, what's one pattern that you go to year after year that you have found is just remains to be successful?
A drop shot on like deeper humps, like I mentioned earlier. It seemed like, I know, like early in the season, bass are up shallow, but there's always, there's those days where they're not hitting shallow. But I always find, like, no matter how bad the day's going, if whatever else I want to try that day is not working, I know I could put a drop shot in my hand or my client's hand, go out to a hump in the middle of the lake somewhere and catch them. Doesn't matter what the weather is. It just seems like there's always going to be fish there. Sometimes you got to drive around the hump, look a little harder for them. They're not right next to it, just off the hump somewhere. Maybe there's a rock off the hump that you never noticed before. Then you catch it and they're sitting right there. That technique with that pattern always works for me.
I need to do more drop shotting. I like Ned rigs, but I need to do more drop shot too.
Yeah, I like Ned rigs too.
What's one technique that if you could recommend to other anglers, take the time to learn how to do properly, what would it be? It could be the same thing, but is there something that, like a technique where, like, it takes a bit of time to learn it, but it's worth it?
I hate going back to drop shot, but I see a lot of people moving their drop shot too much, moving the bait, like shaking their rod tip way too much, or leader length, depending on how far they're casting, what they're trying to do. Like, you heard of like drop shotting with the little swim baits and like swimming a drop shot. If your leader is like, I don't know, 6 inches and you're casting 100 yards or 100 feet away from the boat and you're trying to swim that thing along the bottom, you're literally dragging along the bottom. You got to adjust your leader length, right? So I would say stop moving it around so much, especially with a lot of these drop shot baits now, from the ones that I use anyways. The buoyancy of these things are terrific. So you don't really have to move them a lot. You just let them sit there and let the natural current in the water move it for you. And it's like a sit there and do nothing type thing. Just wait for the hit and set the hook.
Me and Andrew have an underwater camera for ice fishing.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how anglers move their bait too much on finesse techniques.
Yeah.
Because, like, say you're ice fishing, you see the guys jigging and their rod's going up and down. And then once we got a camera, we thought we were being subtle. And we got a camera and we're looking at our jig, and it's like, you move the rod like 2 or 3 inches and your bait's just like zigzagging up and down like crazy.
It's so crazy. Yeah.
You don't realize how much, especially with like modern rods and line, how much just moving your rod even a little bit completely rips your bait up. And minnows don't literally just go up and down like a weird alien.
Some of the best action you get is just, don't have breakfast, drink 4 coffees by the time you get to the lake, and your shakes in your hand are going to be like the perfect motion.
Yeah. I'm going to try that.
I do not advocate dehydrating yourself, but hey, if it catches more fish.
Whatever works.
That's something, though, like, I think that's something I have to work on because I'm more of a power fishing guy. But I think that's something that a lot of people, they may have to remind themselves constantly throughout the day to be like, slow down, keep it, like, chill a little bit. Because I just feel like you get into a habit of doing it, or even reeling in a bait, you get into a habit of reeling at a certain speed.
Yeah.
And you might slow down, but as you start fishing and not paying attention, you'll go back up to that speed that you don't want to be at. So me and Andrew, what we have to do, Andrew, we have to come up with a plan. Every 5 minutes, you yell at me, and then 5 minutes goes by, I'll yell at you, and then slow down.
We basically already do that.
No, we do. But I want you to be a little more mean because I'm not learning fast enough.
It is tough though. I find myself like with moving baits too. Sometimes you get into that rhythm, and half an hour goes by and you realize you've been reeling it in exactly the same way every cast. And you're like, what are you doing, man? Just slow down, add a jerk, add a pause, like do something different, just instead of winding it back, wondering why you're not getting bit, It's hard to remind yourself that sometimes, I find. Especially when you got somebody else on the boat, you're just shooting the breeze while you're fishing. You're not really paying attention, and it's like way too fast.
And you miss that muskie in the figure 8.
Oh, yeah.
Or we don't figure 8.
Yeah.
We're lazy.
Yeah.
That's why we don't catch any fish.
You guys don't figure 8, really?
No, we do.
I was going to say.
Well, we try to. We try to remember.
Yeah.
I think Andrew usually does. What was it? The figure 7?
Yeah. I just do a big L lazy. First.
They call it the lazy L.
Yeah. If I'm fishing shallow water, I'll just do an L. Because if it's 6 feet deep, I can usually see it. But if it's dark and murky, then I will figure it.
Yeah.
again, going back to the fact you fish primarily weekends, or you do fish the weekends as a guide. I know Jesse and I, we always are concerned, not concerned, but we kind of hate going out on the weekends just because it's so much busier on the water.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, there's more pressured, and I think that we've seen a difference with how fishing is on some lakes where they're busy on the weekends versus fishing them during the week.
Mm-hmm.
But for yourself, how do you approach, you know, fishing on those busier days? You know, are you concerned about the boat traffic? Are you gonna focus on, you know, different areas because there's more boat traffic there?
Yeah. So, I mean, like for instance, where I fish on Gloucester Pool, the weekends are super busy there. There's jet skiers, wakeboarders, pleasure boaters. I way more of those than there are anglers, it seems, right? But after fishing there for so long, I kind of know like where they're going, where they're coming from. So I try to stay away from those areas. But aside from that, I would say show up way before everybody else gets there. You know, especially in the summertime, like I don't have a problem showing up to the lake at 5:30 and dumping the boat in the water before the sun comes up and getting some solid fishing until 11 a.m. or so. And then when it gets super busy, either go look for new water to fish, or maybe take a break, get off the boat, maybe go grab something to eat, or if there's something close by, and then come back for the evening bite. Because usually weekend anglers like myself, you go there, you launch the boat around 7 a.m. and then you're off the water, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, I'd say. Most people I see kind of leave around there. I'll stay as late as I can, but I have like a daughter who's on the soccer field 5 times a week, so I can't really stay as long as I want to. But I would say, yeah, maybe take a break and then come back out for the evening bite, because we all know how good that can be, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, if there's people fishing in like, you know, the typical community holes, as they say, always search around those community holes. Because I find sometimes like where people think the spot is, where they mostly are, look for something that's close by there, where when those fish are getting picked off of that spot, they're going to leave at some point. And if there's close enough structure to that same spot, they're going to go there. So just drive around. If somebody's fishing, drive around them. Like, you know, keep your distance, but look for something around where they're fishing. That would be another thing I would try to do.
That's funny. That reminds me, when I used to go steelhead fishing a lot, some of the more popular pools, they get hammered by people, right? I saw this pool that had a lot of fish in it, and there was probably 6 or 7 guys drifting it. And then I walked downstream, like literally 20 feet downstream, and just sitting behind a rock in the riffles was like 10 fish they had ditched the pool because they were getting slammed with baits, and they just dropped back, and they were sitting there, and no one, like from where I saw the fish looking upriver, there's like 10 guys, 6 guys fishing the pool. And then I look down in the river, there's like 10 fish there, no one there.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like, yeah, you have to find the spot that's good. Yeah, look around, because those fish, they're not intelligent, but they're not dumb. If baits are flying around and their buddies are getting abducted by, you know, the human aliens,
yeah,
they're not going to stick around.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And what do you think? Again, we have all these other anglers on the water. Again, that's great to have fellow anglers. It's becoming more popular, but that can be a good thing. But at the same time, what do you think is maybe a handicap for them, where they rely on one technique or one lure? Would you consider perhaps overused, if you could label something as?
I don't know. It's hard to answer because I'm not on the boat with other anglers and seeing what they're doing. But if I had to, yeah, I know, get the binoculars out.
Get the binoculars. Is that a chatterbait?
But I think maybe like people get too zoned in on their confidence baits, and then that's all they throw the entire day. Like they like almost like try to force it. They're like, well, I caught fish like crazy with a chatterbait last time I was out, so I'm gonna throw that today again, and that's all I'm gonna throw because eventually it'll work, you know. Instead of like experimenting and trying something different, I feel like maybe the confidence bait they rely on too much. If I had to say,
let me reverse that question now. What is something that you make sure you always have with you? What specific bait is something that you're like, no matter what it is, I have this in the boat?
I can't remember the size. I think it's like the smallest mega bass Hasdong shad on a drop shot. Lights out. Nice. Every single time. I don't care what else I'm using, how the bite is going, wherever else. I know that if I go and throw that around, I'll catch fish.
Before we carry on with the main topic, I just wanted to, Jesse had mentioned that we have some reviews. And I've been enjoying this episode so far. Hopefully Brad has as well.
Yeah, it's awesome.
We make him do most of the talking, which is fantastic when you have a guest.
Yeah, less work for me.
But we like to give little shout outs and read some reviews when we get them. And I just thought it would kind of be a nice little break in the middle here to read a couple different reviews. Jesse, why don't you read one of the first ones there?
I was actually just going to mention we have over 620 5-star reviews on our podcast, which is insane. So if you haven't written us a review, make sure to go up and do that because it helps us rank better and it just makes me and Andrew feel warm and fuzzy.
And we like reading them.
Yeah, we're just going to read 2 today. This is not a review from the podcast, but this is someone that listens to the podcast. They actually sent us a message on Instagram. So if you want to send us a message, Instagram is good, or you can send us an email, or you can just write us a review. So this one is actually from a guy named Cisco, which is a cool fish anyway. So he said this, and I also asked him if I could read this. I won't read random personal messages without asking, but he said, "Hello, new listener here. I've been binging the podcast on my daily commute, and now I'm on season 2 within a couple of days." That's hardcore, man. Like that's like a lot of episodes to get in 2 days, nonstop. Crazy. I would have fell asleep. He said he's also new to the hobby, which is great. That's why we make this podcast, so that people that just getting into fishing, as well as like, you know, people that love fishing too, can get into it and learn. So he's new to the hobby, just started in August. He said that he picked up $50 Canadian Tire fishing set and caught his personal best largemouth on his 3rd outing out. And since then, he's been hooked to fishing ever since and look forward to fishing whenever he can get free time, which again, that's what me and Andrew do. Every moment of free time we get, we're likely going to Dairy Queen or fishing. Only Dairy Queen if we catch a fish though. So he said, I just want to let you guys know I enjoy listening to the fishing banter and appreciate the information you guys share, especially from a beginner, or I guess you could say a below average Ontario angler standpoint, even though I'm not getting exact GPS coordinates on spots. That's only for premium members. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Keep up the great content. I'm also one of the few who appreciates the podcast is clean, as I have a 2-year-old who mimics every word he hears. Hoping one day to have him as my fishing buddy and teach him the ropes of my experiences and of the things I learn on the podcast. So we appreciate that message. It's great. We were just talking to Brad before about how like the podcast is clean and we don't, you know, no swearing, nothing like that. It's very hard. Like we listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff. It's very hard to find a clean one. I know a lot of people, you guys don't care. You couldn't care less if we were swearing our heads off, but there's lots of people that do care. So we like to keep it clean so that it's listenable for everyone. We like getting messages like that. It helps us to, not swear, right, Andrew?
Absolutely.
We know how much of a sailor mouth Andrew is. Gosh darn it.
I sound just like the SpongeBob episodes, like dolphin noises and old jalopy horns. I was thinking for that, the 2-year-old that's listening there that was mentioned, or like any young kids, we should like start teaching them like different words, but like Neko rig, mega bass. Just like repeating them so that these kids start saying these like really cool fishing terminology terms. His first word, it was chatterbait.
I don't know. My son just started calling me Babazoomi. I'm like, I don't know. What a hammer.
Yeah.
We have another review. This is from David, and this is actually from another part of the world. It's really cool. So he says, as a guy from Sweden, I've heard many times that we're pretty similar to Canadians regarding mentality, values, politics, society, and so forth. But after listening to this podcast, I've come to the conclusion that Canadians are 100% crazy. Absolutely.
It's true.
He does say just kidding, but we all know you're not really kidding, David. It's
Not
true.
really.
Yeah. He says, this is one of the best and most entertaining podcasts I've heard in a long time. By the way, we don't have muskies in Sweden, but if muskelunge is read like it's written in Swedish, it would translate to muscle kid. Think about that next time you're reeling one in. Thanks for all the great content. So that's awesome. And I considered reading this like the Swedish chef from the Muppets.
I knew you would.
Look at the end, like, thanks for all the great content. Bork, bork, bork. Thank you, David.
You know what? That's what I'm calling Muskie from now on. Muscle Kid.
Muscle kid.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this sweet muscle kid.
Yeah. Got a 50-inch muscle kid last weekend.
On my 14-inch Suic.
It's hilarious.
Oh.
Yeah, we like getting reviews, especially from different places in the world. That's crazy. Love it.
And like Jesse said, if you haven't left a review, please leave one. It's something that we do enjoy reading. It's not just, you're not writing it to a faceless organization like, well, I'm not going to name them because we'll get sued, but we actually appreciate and read them when you send them in. And that's fantastic. And we like stuff like this. Please feel free to do so. Pause this right now and do it. Then make sure you unpause it because we have more of the episode to go.
Do it.
So going back to our main topic, going to like adapting on the water. So when the bite dies, and we've all experienced that, unfortunately, let's say we did everything right. We dealt with the weather. We're out there and we've caught some fish. They're in the boat. And then we haven't caught anything in the past hour. Maybe it's because we've been reeling too fast or the same. But what's something that you like to do to kind of shake things up, to kind of shake the cobwebs off and maybe start getting back on some fish?
Get out of that area. Leave. Go somewhere else. Really, I mean, if I'm not you said an hour. If I'm not catching in 15, 20 minutes, changing color, maybe slowing down, maybe, if I'm fishing a drop shot, I'll switch up to a Ned rig, maybe I like those, again, Great Lakes Finesse tube craws.
The juvie craw.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, those are pretty cool too. But yeah, I mean, 15, 20 minutes, if I was getting fish and then 15, 20 minutes go by, I'm on a spot and it's not happening, I switch the lure, switch the color, slow down a little bit, I'm out. I'm gone. Go somewhere else.
So change bait, change presentation, and then change location.
Change location, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know some people, like, they'll keep using the same technique, but just keep moving locations and again, I've been guilty of that. I keep throwing, like you said, that one bait that I've done well on, and I just want to cast that all day long. And I just keep going to different spots and casting the same chatterbait.
Yeah.
True.
But learning more and more. Yeah, Jesse's like, I know.
Andrew has a chatterbait that has been tied on his rod for 3 years and he hasn't taken it off.
Come on, really?
Not quite. No.
Maybe
no.
1 year.
But I do have, like, every time I go out, there's a chatterbait tied on.
Yeah.
It's not the exact same one. But it's something I've been trying to do more, though, is fishing. Perhaps fish tend to stay in a similar area or vicinity of where they are, right?
Yeah.
At least on a day-to-day basis. So maybe they're still there, but I just had to change how I'm presenting and what I'm presenting to them.
Yeah.
To start bringing them in. So that's good. A good reminder for myself primarily and all of our listeners as well.
Yeah. Or like we mentioned earlier, like move just off of that spot too, right? Because maybe they were right there, but you caught too many of them and then they swim off 15, 20 feet from where you are. They're still close by. Just maybe have a look over there before you actually vacate the area and go somewhere completely different. And
when it comes to using, like you mentioned already, driving over a hump and using some 2D sonar.
Yeah.
So when people have access to technology like that, again, we're not going into all like the live scope stuff like that, but 2D sonar is a huge step up when you didn't have before. Now you do.
Oh, for sure.
It's amazing. It's super useful.
Yeah.
So if you could teach us weekend anglers one thing about reading structure, how to make better use of that 2D sonar, what would you say? Let's
say you're starting off shallow and then you point the nose of the boat towards the middle of the lake. Drive until you start to see a weed line and then turn your boat and go if you're heading north or south, you pick a direction and go along that weed line. Try to keep that weed line on your 2D sonar and drop waypoints along the weed edge and then circle back. And then you know where that weed edge is and you're up at the front of the boat looking down and I call it fishing blue dots. Like on my GPS, whatever waypoint it is, it's always a blue dot. So I just chase blue dots, right? Mark them like that.
Not all of them have like active tracking or active mapping and stuff. So you can just follow your own break line. Then if you're finding it on 2D and you just create a series of dots to then connect at the end.
I think my graphs have that and I don't even use it. I still I don't think I use my graphs to their full potential. I'm not good with technology. I know how to use it to the way it works for me, and that's good enough. I don't like to get too complicated with that kind of stuff. I find then I'm playing around with my screens more. And like I said, I'm only in the water for the weekend, so I don't want to be on the water screwing around with my friggin' graphs all day, right?
Stupid computers.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just I would find a weed edge, mark it out, or drive past the weeds into more open water, look for something on that second break line for any structure, And you know what that looks like on a 2D sonar. If you drive over a hump or maybe a log or something, just mark it and then circle back. And then I'm lucky enough that I have down scan and side imaging, got active target and all that stuff too, right? So if I drive over something with 2D that looks juicy, like a rock pile or whatever, sometimes I don't know, it's weird. I don't see the marks on my 2D sonar if there's fish there. But if the structure looks good enough to me, I'll still turn around and then I'll drive over it with a down scan and I might be able to see it. And then at the very last thing, I'll dump my trolling motor in and I'll have a look around with the active target and then I'll see them. If they're not there, then whatever, I'll just keep driving and look for something else.
If you go over a spot and you have pinned it, do you circle back and fish it right away, or would you recommend leaving it for, you know, a certain amount of time and then coming back to fish that now that you kind of cast ahead at it, not be on top of it?
No, I'll turn around and fish it right away. Well, like I said, I'll turn around, I'll dump the trolling motor in, I'll have a look around with active target. If I see that there's fish there, like I don't leave fish for other fish. They're there, I'm fishing it, right? If I have a look and there's nothing there, at least the waypoint is there, and then I'll go somewhere else. And then later on in the day, I might come check that spot again and see if something moved up there, or, you know, and
that's nice to know as for small craft anglers too, because if you were, you know, to mark something and then slowly paddle along or whatever, and then eventually make yourself back, if you can, you know, if you don't feel bad about fishing it right away, you know, you don't have to feel bad that, oh, I'm fishing it right now, I just drove on top of it. Especially if you're in a small craft, make use of that. You're there right now.
Yeah,
it's going to be hard for you to get back to that spot maybe and feel good about fishing it.
Yeah. And then, like, I know like why people would think don't fish it right away because you just drove over the top of it. But if it's in deeper water, I don't think it matters that much. And especially like we talked about before with pressured waters, there's boats flying around all day long. These fish, they're accustomed to that, I think. I don't think that really bothers them that much, to be honest. At least in my experience, like for where I fish. They don't seem too spooked by it. In deeper water, that is, though. Shallow water, yeah, I mean, you're going to scare them off, right? But
I was just thinking about how you said pinning like a weed line. Like we do that ourselves.
Yeah.
Because you don't need a super fancy fish finder to do that. You just need you could use like a $150, you know, cheap Garmin to do that.
Yeah.
But there's this one lake that me and Andrew fish, and it's a huge weed flat, and it's like 5 feet. That's it. And it's thick weeds.
Yeah.
And stumps. And then one year we cut across or something. We're like, let's just cut across. And then there's this random like rock reef that's like the size of like 2 school buses.
Holy.
And then it's weeds through, like you'd never find it because it's a murkier
thick,
lake.
dense weeds.
You'd never find it unless you drove right over it, and you'd never drive over it because it's like super thick, like slop everywhere.
Yeah.
But then there's this rock pile, and it's amazing. You can almost see it from Google Maps, but we found it one year, and then we could never find it again. Like, so we pinned pins all the way around this like rock thing. So you look at my GPS and it's just like all weeds, and then it's just like 9 or 10 like dots all the way around that. I'm like, that's it. And you know the squiggly lines of when you fish an area?
Yeah.
It's just like, because we just fished that.
Clear them
that
off your screen every once in a while because it gets too clouded.
I know.
Yeah.
Because even with active mapping, because that's a good point, or with a charting fish finder or depth finder, is that'll show you depth differences, but it won't show you difference in structure. So it could be like Jesse's saying, the depth didn't change there, it's just the structure below did.
Yeah.
So on the mapping, if you look on a map for that area, with Jesse charting his area and all that stuff, it just shows 4 to 6 feet the whole way across. Anyways, yeah. But as if you can pin, just like a suggestion, by pinning it, doesn't matter. You can find it again because it doesn't matter what that actual depth chart says. You have a mark.
Yeah, it's
100%. This is something here. You can label them all this different stuff too. So make use of any differentiating labels. I know some guys they label it. I think we were talking to Jason Bernouse, I think, who tags everything by like color, and it's like, oh, red is rock and green is this, and he has all these different things, and it's not even for fish, it's for structure.
Yeah.
But he uses different colored pins for whatever structure it is that he wants to fish.
Yeah. And it saves time too, because like you may know where a spot is, but it may take you a few minutes to actually find the spot. So if you actually pin it with a basic GPS unit, then you can run and gun. Like me and Andrew will do that. We'll fish a spot and then be like, okay, there's nothing here. Pick up the motor, boom, fly to the next spot. find it on the GPS, but okay, it's right here. It's coming up. It's coming. Okay, there it is.
Yeah.
Or like, there's a stump there. Or there's a rock pile there. Like, you don't have to be like looking and guessing and trying to like look into the lake. Oh, Andrew, stick your head under the water. Do
Yeah.
you see that log? So it does save a lot of time.
Hold Andrew over the boat by his ankles, head first in the water.
I can't hold him.
But it's November.
just use a musky rod and a heavy leader. You'll hold him up. Going back to what you guys said, people use different colors and different logos to mark stuff. I wish there was one for a field goal, for like the end of a football field. There's a spot I found in Georgian Bay. It's on a hump, and there's weeds that come they're all like, it's pretty much covered in weeds, this hump. But there's a bare spot where it's just rock. And if you see it on the active target, it looks like a field goal post. You see a definite, like there's a weed edge here, and rock. And I had the nose of the boat facing there on spot lock, and I could see fish swimming out of the weed edge across the rock into the other side of the weeds. Super cool, but it looks like a field goal. I wish I had a field goal marker. I'd use that for a waypoint for sure.
Catching footballs.
That's it.
At the football marker.
That's awesome. So we're going to move on to our final couple questions we have prepared for the podcast. That's time has passed quick, at least for us. Maybe our listeners are like, this episode's taken forever. But time has flown by for me.
Yeah, same.
But if you had 5 minutes to make an angler noticeably better, and I like that wording, noticeably better, what would you teach them?
Well, like we said before, slow down for sure. Pay attention to your surroundings. Like, listen for things, look for things. But most importantly, I think whatever bait you're using, try to think of what you're imitating with that bait and what that bait actually does in real life and what it looks like swimming along the bottom. And if you can visualize that in your head, I think it translates to your hands a lot better instead of just, fishing and going through the motions. Try to visualize like if you're imitating a crayfish or a goby, like, and if you don't know what that looks like, I mean, YouTube is everyone's best friend. Look up videos of crayfish swimming along the bottom. And next time you go out and you're using a crayfish bait, try to do that. That's what I would say.
The ultimate mimicking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jesse and I we always joke around, and it's come in handy sometimes, but we'll fish like topwater frogs is one of the common things that we'll do around some like shoreline structure or docks and stuff like that, or some rocks up in the kind of the shield lakes.
Yeah.
Sometimes like I'll cast my bait like right up on shore and then just like pop it in the water, and we always joke, it's like, the supernatural approach. It's not just natural, it's supernatural.
Supernatural, yeah.
So I always joke about that. But yeah, like mimicking, and for me, I started doing that when I was younger. Like I started doing it at the cottage when I was a kid with Jesse up there. I was 12, 13 years old or something like that. And first time fishing, we were actually fishing a spoon. And I'm like, it's a frog pattern. So I was skipping the spoon underneath the trees right into the mud bank. I was like, splat, right? And I just kind of reeled it into the water. And that was the only way we were catching fish that trip. Like they were right up on shore, and you'd spook them if you hit the water. So
crazy.
That worked, but that was the start of that supernatural.
Yeah.
So yeah, thinking of what you're imitating, I like that. That's what I often try to do. I have lots of success with the dragonfly lures because I try and fish it how a dragonfly I see in the water is acting, or a spider. I'll cast it with a spider, like live target bait. And usually I move that thing 2 feet and I just recast. I'm like, nah, a spider, I don't see spiders ripping across the water.
No.
In the States, I've seen that with tarantulas and stuff. But up here, a dock spider falls in the water and it runs over to the nearest branch, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Like they're not moving far. So that's how I'll try and fish it,
Cool.
The last question we have, if you could give one brutally honest tip to help anglers improve fast, what would it be?
I mean, everybody says it, as I'm going to say it too, is time on the water. If you're a weekend angler and you're not that experienced, you're just getting into it. If you think you're going to go out there on a weekend and smash fish, you obviously could, but there's a lot of days, and you know how it goes, like fishing's fishing. You're not catching a crazy amount of fish all the time, and some days are really slow. But the more time you spend on the water, the more experience you gain in the lures you're using, the rods you're handling, all the stuff we talked about, you're going to get better. I mean, you can't get worse, right? I hope not.
I hope not too.
Andrew's like, just more opportunities to do bad.
Yeah, so like, yeah, time on the water, man. Time on the water. And then just like love what you're doing out there anyways. Just enjoy being outside.
I was being brutally honest. How could I put that in a brutally honest way? Get off the couch.
Get your butt on
Get
the water.
on the water.
Yeah, yeah.
Start fishing.
Yeah.
You can't catch them from the couch.
And like dress properly. Don't let the weather keep you home, right? A lot of people like, oh, it's too hot, or it's raining, or it's too cold, or it's too windy. Like, just get out there, dress properly, be safe, and just have at it, man.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Some of the best fishing, like I know we talked about this last episode when me and Andrew were out on the water muskie fishing, but some of the best fishing of the year is in the most uncomfortable weather times. Like,
Yep.
Me and Andrew had some amazing pike fishing last year, and we were fishing the first week of March. Like it was freezing. Like the water had just it had just thawed like a week before. It was freezing. And then remember last year we were fishing muskie like late into the year, and I went out in December with Travis and caught one. So yeah,
we had a blast having you on here, Brad.
So did I, man. It was awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, no, thanks a lot for coming on. Thanks for sharing some of your knowledge. And again, we'd love to have people, guests like yourself on, who have that guiding experience, who are out there doing this for work, getting out there a lot more frequently than we are. So if anyone would like to book a trip with you or want to contact you for anything, what are some of the ways that people can reach you at?
I do most of my communications and bookings through Instagram. I just started a website. It's still under construction, but that's rumblefishadventures.ca. So it'll be coming up soon. Give me a couple weeks. I should have it up and running. But yeah, Instagram, Facebook, and rumblefishadventures.ca.
And I'll put all the links for that down below in the show notes. So if you're interested in that, you can just go down and click it quick and check it out. And if you just go on Instagram too, if you're on Instagram, make sure you give Brad a follow. I was showing Andrew his Instagram earlier, and I was just like, smallmouth, pike, smallmouth. I was like, I think this guy likes smallmouth fishing.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah, make sure to give him a follow as well. And while you're on Instagram, make sure to give us a follow too if you're not following us already. And if you're not, I don't know what the heck's your problem, but follow us on Instagram.
Get on it.
And since we all love technology, what we should do is on, let's say, November the 30th at 7 p.m., we're all going to try and log onto the website and crash your server. How about that?
Is that how that works?
You can, yeah.
Oh, Andrew's such a nerd for knowing that. Loser.
Yeah. I hate technology too.
All right, so we have some housekeeping, I guess.
Yeah.
Technically. We don't really have housekeeping.
That's right. I haven't done dishes in weeks.
That's why I can smell your house from here. Gross. No, but we just like to say we'd like to thank everyone who is on our Patreon that helps support the show. We do appreciate it. It does cost some money out of our own pockets to run the show for all the programs and all that fun crap that we have to deal with. So we do appreciate it so that we're not paying out of our own pockets. You can join a Patreon member for free. Do a lot of like giveaways, especially next year. We're going to have a lot of more giveaways like we did this year as well. So make sure you go on there. Free members can enter the giveaways too. So make sure you remember. I'll put the link down below. Other than that, we don't really have any news because, fishing season's kind of, it's slowing down a bit. I mean, Andrew might get out once or twice more for muskie, but that's about it until ice fishing. Yeah. So it's a sad time. But don't worry. We will keep producing the podcast throughout the winter so you have something to listen to remind you of fishing until the ice forms.
Awesome.
And we do have some actually coming up soon. I'm not sure exactly how soon, but we're going to start having... Yeah, I think next month you said?
Yep.
Jesse knows what I'm getting to, my very roundabout way of saying it. But we're having another returning guest going to talk to us this time about some ice fishing tips. So yeah, we're looking forward to that coming up as well.
Another guide.
Yeah, another guide. Again, we've taught you all we can. We need to get other people in here. So before we end this episode, we have, as tradition states, the quote of the week. And this time it will be handled by our guest, Brad.
Every time I listen to you guys' podcast, I hear the quote of the week. I always thought to myself, I'm like, what would I ever say as a quote of the week if the boys ever asked me? So I put a lot of thought into it, and I looked up some quotes and stuff like that, but I didn't want to like copy what anybody else said. So I just spoke from the heart, and I mean this, genuinely appreciate every moment that you get to spend on the water, whether it's bad times, good times. There's always a story to tell, and you're always either, if you're by yourself, you know, it's good for the soul. You're out there in nature. If you're with some buddies and you're shooting the breeze, it's always a good time. So just appreciate every moment on the water.
Even if you forget the boat plug at the ramp.